We're going to specifically dive into real-world examples of B2B conversion issues and have the solutions that these real-world problems had. And I think we're going to cover a lot of what I found out many of you are dealing with. The things we don't cover, I am happy to spend time after this session and to follow up after the conference to talk about, because it's not life or death, but it's really close, right? Great. So why are we here? Why do we pay attention to this? 71% of B2B researchers begin their research with generic searches in Google. On average, B2B influencers do 12 searches prior to visiting a brand's site. Right, so we know they're online. B2B research starts online, and contacting sales happens halfway through the process. It's terrifying, right? Absolutely terrifying. Only 50% of B2B organizations, this is a 2017 stat, have a responsive website. Hopefully that number is much higher because of March this year's Google mobile first algo went live, right? How many of you here know or don't know, like raise your hand if you know your site is responsive. Awesome, okay. Could you show me by a show of hands how many of you have both a lead gen conversion as well as an e-commerce conversion on your site? Anybody like sell spare parts? Something like that on? Okay, just got it. Great, thanks. And does anybody in here feel like the website is a burden to them? Yeah, right, about half. I get that. It feels like something you have to spend money on and maintain and you don't get much back from. Well, we're going to change that today with proper conversion tracking. So did you know that half of B2B buyers are millennials? Actually, more than this. Between the years of 2012 and 2014, that number, you can see, increased significantly, and it's only gone up faster since. And millennials are used to an omni-channel retail experience as consumers, and they're expecting that in their work life now. In addition to the internet that we've got to deal with, and aren't we grateful for that, mobile is reshaping the B2B landscape for growth. So we've got 50% of B2B search queries happening on smartphones, and in just a year and a half, that will be 70%. Isn't that amazing? Anybody shocked by that? Nope. Got it. You're in the know. Got it. Great. So mobile drives or influences an average of over 40% of revenue for leading B2B organizations. Are you seeing that in your analytics? Is anybody tracking that? Nope. Okay. Got it. Well, you're going to have, after this session today, you're going to have an understanding of the top 5 conversion tracking issues in your world, and you're going to know what to do, what to check and how often to check it, to have the ammunition to go get the budget you need to do what is possible with your website. Anybody excited about that? Couple? Great. Yeah, it's good. It's good. And the quality of your life is going to improve. Your anxiety and stress level will go down. You will look younger and sleep better. Great. Awesome. We like that. Okay, the risk here, if we don't get this handled, that the carrot is the sleep and the looking better and the bonuses and all this good stuff. The stick in this situation is that we might not fill the top of our funnel. We might not feel that pain today, but we're going to feel that pain significantly in fairly short order. And that could very well likely result in lost market share, right? So we're here to prove the website's working so that you can benefit from it, all the good stuff you're doing and will do, and you can invest in implementing campaigns that are more likely to work and reach the right folks, more and better qualified leads. And you'll be rewarded with the data you need to go get the budget you need to do all the amazing things that you have in mind and have started. Great? I really like a little feedback. I know it's the morning and we're still caffeinated, so I'm very lucky. It's not the end of the day, and a little feedback is awesome. Thank you very much. And if anyone has any questions, raise your hand, interrupt, please. Okay? Great. So these are the top 5 B2B conversion tracking issues that we see. I can't say we've seen a company doing it perfectly. even close to perfectly. So you're right where you should be, and you're in great company. We're talking, most of the examples in this deck, the companies are in the multiples of billions of sales revenue. Okay. So the first, conversions made offline, sales happen through distribution, right? Everybody, I'm going to guess, everyone in the room has this situation. Yep. Perfect. You cannot track conversions on the web, and you cannot evaluate your marketing decisions. These are both problems. The second conversion tracking issue is defining your goals poorly or not having a clear vision about how to track your conversions. By show of hands, who has this problem? Yeah, very common, very common. We're going to talk about micro and macro goals and give you a framework for that. People might have told you, oh, track page views, track visits to a certain page, track, that somebody clicked through to a particular page. Half of your traffic might do that. That's way too much data. You can't analyze that, and there's no intelligence there, right? So we're going to take those micro goals and get clear about what is valuable to track and what isn't. Next, assigning value to non-e-commerce conversions. This can be a great practice, but we see way too often that people will assign all goals the same value. Is anybody doing this in Google Analytics? Assigning a value? Great. To different actions prospects take. They'll assign a lesser important goal or conversion, a higher value than a more important one. Or they'll track both their real e-commerce numbers, if, for instance, you sell spare parts, and their assigned goal values, and then they're double counting. So we'll talk about that too and how to handle it. Great. Next, tracking conversions on an external site. Does anybody use a third-party site either for payment processing or event registration? Yep. Great. We're going to cover that. Most of your conversions then might end up looking like they're from direct or referral traffic. Has anyone seen that in analytics? Yep. Great. I mean, not great, but you know. And not enough data or information collected in your CRM. That's a variation on a theme. We'll take a look at that. And last but not least, double tracking of your conversions. Okay? So we're not going to be super technical today. If you're at the point where you need to get a dev on the phone and you're stumped, let's set up a call after, okay? But we're going to stay fairly high level so we can get the real world examples and how they solved it. Right before that, why tracking conversions? We are here because we want to get our campaigns, we want our campaigns to be more and more successful, and we want to get closer and closer to actually getting new clients, right? Am I missing anything? Nope, that's the big conversation. Excellent. This is money work. This is worth our time. Thank you again for being in this session. There are so many amazing sessions you could have attended. Really appreciate it, and you all are super smart. I may say. So what we're doing is we want to help ourselves to test what works in specific scenarios. We want more and more working campaigns. We want to be clear and make reasonable decisions based on data and information and wisdom. And we want high ROI in our marketing efforts. Am I missing anything on here? Nope, got it. Great. Okay, subtext, hopefully that's helpful. When you optimize for the correct goals, I couldn't even get all the positive reasons on this slide. I had to squeeze them in, right? You are leading your visitors through the site like an actual sales path. An actual sales path through the site. How amazing is that? Yes, and you can know what your messaging should be. You can have your calls to action actually be meaningful, compelling, and get clicked more often. You can evaluate your marketing channels correctly. You can work on improving your channels, pick the ones that have lower conversion rates and make them better. You can pre-qualify more effectively, get more conversions from your existing traffic, upsell better. Just the list is endless. And this is really the place to be. You're ahead of the curve. Like, that's one of the clear messages I want you to take away with you. This is a big problem for a lot of sites. Handling this, you're going to be incredibly valuable not only to your own organizations where you currently live, but on the job market. Okay, so very, very smart to look at this and to sweat and deal with it to get it right. You get to be right more of the time when your conversion tracking is set up properly. Who likes being right? I love being right. Great. And you're going to be able to Stop spending time on things that aren't working for you, which is lovely. Okay, so specifically, conversions made offline. Let's dive in. When sales happen through distribution. Here's an example of one company. It's a $10.6 billion organization. And in stage 1 of their conversion tracking, they tracked only micro goals. So it's that visits to a particular page, or they came in and clicked on this page eventually. Yeah, not really helpful. Too many conversions, fuzzy, not valuable, not providing value to us. In stage 2, they added macro conversions. Helpful, but still not getting us there. So the contact form submit counted as 1. The download of a catalog counted as 1. Searching for a distributor counted as 1. We don't have weights. We don't have a priority or a really clear context. In stage 3, they moved on to assigning values to those macro conversions and some micros, so that you could look at each visit and see what channel was performing best for you. Does that just sound like a dream? Yeah. So for instance, for them, downloading a catalog was their most important goal. So they assigned it a $50 value. Watching a video, less important, but still valuable for them. They were producing new products that needed to be explained, a $30 value. And visiting a particular resource or a page, the least valuable, was $5. Who here can see how you could apply something like this? It's yours. Great. It is amazing how many times we look at analytics and see all the goals are the same. Or, well, you'll see. It's, and this is something that you set once and then audit regularly. And ideally, you've worked on it together with your team. Here's another example where sales happen through distribution. Their major goal was to sell a whole house system. They also had e-com on the site and sold spare parts. They were tracking the e-com because, let's face it, that's easier, right? B2C, e-com, yes, much easier. So they were tracking that, but not the major goal. So they couldn't compare and contrast. They couldn't give a big picture view to the execs or themselves. Yeah, just makes you want to weep. One of the solutions here, taking conversions, being able to track that. Does anybody have tracking on their site? So, if someone's got to go in and search for a distributor, find a phone number, find a contact, fill out the form. Have you added contact? Do you have have you used any of the different ways that you can to track if somebody clicks on that, calls, does the search, zip code searches or whatever, and are you looking at those numbers regularly? Do you trust them? Okay, so you're not sure, but if you trust them. Okay, great. Well, it's step 1, right? So tracking the distributor searches on the website would be very important and valuable. Tracking phone numbers, whether it's click to call or that somebody looked up a phone number, and we want to think about this when we build the page. How can that be trackable? How can we make sure that we're confident in the click? And there are a number of ways to go about that. We could actually add a marketing automation platform to get a lot more tools and levers that we could play with in this big picture conversation. So our takeaway here, does anybody have any questions about these? I don't want to blow too fast, but we've got a number. We can certainly circle back to these in the Q&A section. Is that good? Okay, great. Thank you. So one of our takeaways here is our B2B research starts online, even on the phone, even in the office. These folks are on the phone. There was a stat of something like 40% of the time when they were using the phone, they were actually at their desk to research. Amazing, isn't it? Start tracking how visitors are interacting with the site and what leads them to a conversion. So this syncs up nicely with the customer journey, and you can present it that way in the organization. Our second conversion tracking issue, defining goals, unclear vision as to what to track for a conversion. Here we're getting into the micro, macro conversion tracking conversation. Has anybody sat down with their team and taken that, either the funnel or the journey, and mapped out the conversions that need to happen for their ultimate lead? Yes? Great. Anybody else? I see one. Maybe hands instead of nodding. Is that possible? Oh, nice. Okay. Maybe 10. Sweet. And how did that go? Was it effective? Did you put things in place as a result? Great. So you move things to the next level as a result. Awesome. All right, so a financial company had 3 goals, and they had assigned values to some of them. Their most important goal had no value assigned, an application completion. The next, starting an application, and this is a $6.5 billion organization, just to make you feel better. The next goal was starting an application, $250, and the very least of them clicking on a resource or particular resource or page had the highest value. Now, clearly what happened here is somebody went in trying to be helpful, did their work, didn't talk to anyone else, and then somebody else went back in doing the same thing. People aren't talking to each other, and there isn't a regular ongoing audit by either a third party with fresh eyes or someone on the team who is held absolutely accountable for clean and clear conversion tracking, right? It was done and then not revisited. Anybody can see how that can happen? Yes, we get it. Okay, another example, a company had no fewer than 3 zip code search event goals on the site, all resolving to different thank you pages, 2 different Find a Pro contact goals, and 2 different contact form submit goals, all resolving to different thank you pages. So all that data, and data is not information, right? No wisdom there. It's a mess. Anybody relate to this? Can you imagine, oh, I need to go back and check and see if all of these are resolving to the same? Yes. Great. Super common. So we want to define, the solution here is define what it is your visitors want to do or what you want them to do on a page. Contact you, download a catalog, watch the video, whatever it is for you. Get clear about that. Map it to your journey, to your, take your personas if you have those. Who's working with customer journeys right now? Anybody? Okay. It's good number of hands. Great. So you want to separate those important or macro goals from the micro, the less important goals, and then ask your customers, interview them. How did you find us? And flesh it out. So ideally, this is an agenda item for your team that you revisit. I'd like to say monthly, but quarterly would be great, right? And keep fleshing it out, keep putting more meat on the bones and getting clearer and clearer about it and measuring. So you can continue to improve your visibility and your accuracy and your confidence, the trust you have. Talked a lot about trust this morning. So here are some more examples of macro and micro goals. Your macro and micro goals will vary depending on the type of business you have, of course. If you were a blog, then it would matter. Page views and time spent on site would be one of your macro goals, but not for us, not for B2B marketers. For us, it's contacting the distributors, submitting a form, signing up for an event or an actual phone call. These are the holy grails for us. Anybody have another one that for them would be the end-all, be-all that's not on that short list? So maybe, yeah? Scheduling a demo, which could be valuable. The thing, I remember doing some A/B testing, and we found with one client that we had 7 times the number of conversions, like somebody had signed up for something, than qualified leads, which is not what we want. But it's important to know that, because then you can start to test more and actually see what would up the pre-qualification, because your salespeople hate you when that happens. Yes, and they won't do anything for you. And they won't tell you how, we talked to a gent in the back about the feedback loop. We want to get online to offline, which I know is a big problem for a lot of you. You give the leads to your sales reps, and then how do you get information back about how it went? How do you know distributors followed up on those leads that you're providing? All that good stuff. So when we can be clean in the front end and not annoying and a time waster, which we're not intending to be, and it happens often, right? Then everything works better. Micro goal examples. It's not that we don't track the micros, because when we are stuck with, when we can't see from a certain point on, when we're blind, then we look at our micro goals and we track those. And in theory, if those improve, I think it's fairly safe to say the macros should improve, right? So if we had more catalogs downloaded or watched, more product videos watched, or more folks signing up for the newsletter, giving us that email, these are all signs of trust. They're growing signs of trust. So when we have to stop at a certain point and lose our visibility, we go back to what we do have, pristine with it, and we track it and audit regularly so that we're confident, so the rest of the team can be confident, the rest of the company can be confident in it. Real with ourselves and with other folks about the true value of the micro goals and prioritize them and map them against the customer journey and the personas that we have, because that will affect values. You could see how you could get to the point, actually, where you had a set of, if we look at the macros and the micros for that example, then we could actually get to, for instance here, assigning values based on type, a type of customer, right? So this would be our, ideally, we're getting to our own stage 3, and then launching beyond that. Anybody see an application for themselves there, right? Purchaser versus engineer, right? Our buyer versus an influencer versus an exec. Great.